Hey y'all, it's your girl Sia, and I'm back with another video. Y'all, the title of this video, really, I think is an important topic to speak about, and I'm pretty passionate about my thoughts here and my take on the video Leave the World Behind. And let me be clear, when I did the review earlier, I was not aware that Obama had done he produced both Obamas, I guess, Michelle and what's his name? Obama. I don't know, but y'all get what I'm saying. Both the husband and the wife um helped to produce this film and apparently had a very heavy influence on the things that we see now, right? And my first thoughts was like, that's very interesting, just because what would make a former president, right? And actually, I'm gonna be honest, I think it's actually pretty unique. I think it is cool that someone of that stature, irregardless of what I feel about them, is now investing in film and video and things of that nature. Now, I have been going very back and forth in my head about what's happening around the world right now. And that is because I really believe that what we're seeing is prophecy. And I keep saying this time and time again. And I stand by my thoughts on that, which means that what is going to come is almost inevitable to some degree. I do believe that people have the power and the ability to manipulate the reality that is to come, as we do any other situation. However, I genuinely believe that people are not going to excuse me, people will still have the ability to change and manipulate their reality, regardless of what that reality will look like. Okay. So I don't believe that all hope is over. I just believe that times are changing and the way in which we've known the world to be is no longer, and it's going to become more and more prevalent as time goes by. Um, I believe that the video I watched, and I'm going to be honest in my thought processes here, the video I watched, the movie I watched, Leave the World Behind, was more centered around the everyday conspiracy, right? Than racism. And I find it very difficult that certain peoples are making it about racism when the movie's really not about racism, right? Now, I have to take into account that black a black man and a black woman, right? Or whatever you think Michelle is, right? Two black people produced that film. And I would think that as the former president, they might have had a lot more say than anybody else on that set. Okay. And when I look at Julia Roberts, I told you guys I hated her character, and I mean that with sincerity. I hated her character. And initially, let me be very honest, I didn't really know why I hated her character. I knew certain things were just bothersome in terms of, and I didn't want to get too much in the video, but I am going to talk about some things that happened in the movie as of now. So I am going to do a spoiler alert. But before, I couldn't do that because it had just came out and I didn't want to like spoil it for people. But you guys have had enough time to go see it. And if you don't want to hear this, just please skip past. Julia Roberts, and I'm sure you guys know of by now the scene where the black man and his daughter show up to the doorstep, right, in the middle of the night. and they're asking to share, like, to be able to sleep in their own home, but they're being like very respectful, almost strangely respectful in my opinion. Because I just, that's just not me. But I be thinking that if you're making that kind of money to where you own that type of house and you own multiple places and you're hanging out with elitists of the elite, I would assume that maybe how he would carry himself, being a person who has money, is just a tad bit different than how I would, right? So he was very over the top in his respectfulness, in his, just really being mindful that this is not really how they would have liked to meet. But due to the blackout, due to certain situations, it was better for them to go to their own home. And really went out of his way, again, to be very, very polite, but not just kick them people out like right away, right? Julia Roberts was very, like, I believe I said this in the in the initial review, which was Julia Roberts was very she could not believe that, and this is the thing. Black people know what this feels like because we deal with it all day long. I told you guys a scenario where I was driving through a white town. It's like white Mexican, but what Muslim, they claim to be white. So I'm driving through a white town and the cop pulls me over and asks me, "What do I do for a living?" And it almost made me feel, okay, again, it was done in such a way where you wouldn't think twice about it. The average person, if they're not aware of those types of questions and what they really mean, what's the real question behind the question, you're not going to see it one way. You're just going to answer the question, which I did. I answered the question naturally. But in my head, I was like, did he really just try to ask me? Because he asked me if my vehicle was my vehicle. And I'm thinking, well, don't you pull my driver's license up? But I think he was thinking that I was somebody. Listen, I don't know. Okay. I don't know. But I've never been asked, what do I do for a living, to justify the vehicle I'm driving in? And the idea that I couldn't have such a vehicle, and in my opinion, it's really not that nice. So it shows you how smart the guy was when he pulled me over, trying to ask me questions, trying to figure out my financial status, because that's what that was. Because if I'm driving if I'm sitting in the car that I'm sitting in, and I didn't have a great, I couldn't give a justification for why I was sitting in that car, that man would have had me pulled over for God knows how long, trying to dig into some shit he really had no business digging into. And I know other police officers who confirm that. Apparently, that's a thing. When they believe that you should not really be the owner of that vehicle. Hang on. Sorry, y'all. I'm eating double stuffed Oreos. Y'all, this is all they had. I do not like double stuffed Oreos. There's way too much cream. I literally squeezed my entire Oreo to get as much cream out of the Oreo as I possibly can. I do not like the taste of the middle of the filling. It's too much for me. I do like the cookie, however. Mm, but if we're gonna talk, real talk. I'm about to really talk today, right? Julia Roberts' character, I don't know. It's weird because the little girl was beginning to annoy me. The black girl, believe it or not, she was beginning to annoy me. She annoyed me quicker than Julia. Well, Julia Roberts annoyed me from beginning to end. I didn't understand why her character was the way that it was. Um, And it really bothered me that she was the way that she was. But then again, I had to really ask myself if I would be the same way. Like if somebody showed up at the middle in the middle of the night in my Airbnb randomly talking about I'm the person who owns the house. I don't know that I would be that way, but then again, I might have a little attitude because I'm like, dude, it's in the middle of the night, right? But I don't know that I would have went as far as Julia Roberts in that movie. And I always like to put myself in other people's shoes so I could strive to figure out what that is. Um, Julia's character was a bit over the top. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's racism. But I kept trying to watch it with because I was getting upset for the guy. And I remember having to think to myself, like, nah, maybe that's not what it is. Maybe you just watching it and you're just perceiving it to be that way because of your life. I'm going into having a self-talk and all this stuff because it really pissed me off. Julia Roberts' character teed me off. So I'm trying to watch it with an objective point of view, right? And I remember the black girl getting on my nerves too, simply because I'm like, well, what if that's not the case? What if she's not racist? What if, and I'm thinking of all these things, but she admits it at the end. I mean, low key, she admits it. Julia Roberts, the character ends up admitting it at the end, like, yeah, I was pretty fucked up. I don't know why I was like that. And over time, I began to trust my thought process that, yeah, Julia Roberts, and that I don't know if I would have thought she was racist, but I mean, I don't know. Something was off about her character, and I did not like it. And I know damn well I would never want to be around a Caucasian woman who behaves like that. Like I could never. Okay, because I couldn't. Me personally, I'm not for that type of person. Okay. Um, so I will say this, the dad was much better than me. Now, it's unfortunate that you have Caucasian people, white people, right, talking about the movie is racist. First of all, I want to be very clear. The movie was created by a black man, right? And let's be very honest about that. It was created by a black man and black woman. I said that already. But I'm going to reiterate that because I guess when I'm looking at all these movies that Hollywood has produced over the years, right, and I see the fantasy of the white male and the white woman and how it's played out on television and its movies, and then you realize that the producers are white, and this is all the things that they're making in their whatever, right, in their reality because they can relate to those kinds of stories, right? Well, maybe Obama can relate to the fact that this is his house, right? And somebody don't believe it's his house because he's black, right? That's an everyday occurrence. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Black people live that reality. That reality that played out and leave the world behind is a very real reality that black people face all day long. And sorry, y'all, that cookie was good. I was craving it. I had to eat it. The reality of it is those types of microaggressions or whatever, I don't even know if they were micro, I don't know what they were. I just know that Julia Roberts, the fact that her mind could not wrap her head around the fact that a black man owned that house, and it was done intentionally like that. There's no way that both the husband and the daughter are black. Like in a movie, if it wasn't the intent to show that in the movie, I just don't feel like both characters will be black, right? On the other side of that door, right? I just don't believe that. The intent behind the movie was to show that as a white woman, Julia Roberts could not fathom and or understand how a black man and his daughter could own that home that she was Airbnb in. That's what it was. Every black person knows this because we all go through it. And for white people to say that this movie is racist, right? And this is the argument that some of these folks are making. You have to know the behavior that Julia Roberts did was wrong. You would have to know that. You would have to. Because if the argument is, well, this is racist and this is wrong, then what would be the reason for that to stem about? Is it, I mean, I guess for me, right? It has to make sense. The idea that something is racist, it really got to make sense. Is it racist or is it the black experience that you're seeing play out on screen because two black people produced a movie? And why is it that black people are not allowed to share their experiences of their reality with white people? And then what is it that white people would consider Julia Roberts to be? Like, what are we considering that? If that is not racism, because again, I've been trying to, be a bit objective about it because I felt some type of way. If that is not racism, what is it? I want to know. For the people that are, oh, this is about racism. No, listen, y'all be doing movies all the time about racism. The fuck? You got people, Django, The Birth of a Nation. You got The Color Purple. Like, there are so many movies that have been created throughout history, Roots, right? To keep the black man in this mentality and in this image. When I say black man, I'm speaking of all blacks, right? Not just men, right? But to keep the black man down. And I really mean that with all sincerity, because when you watch movies that are primarily black people of color, you see a lot of dysfunction going on in the movies. But you got movies like Grease, right? And even though there's dysfunction, is glamorized. A lot of the dysfunction that we see in white people shit is glamorized. Whereas the dysfunction in black communities, and this is this is what it is what's the word? Glamorized and it's demonized. And we're not really that different. It's just we are different, right? So when the little girl, I keep saying she's a little girl because she looked really young to me, and I guess she's supposed to be 21 or something, but whatever. That girl, when the black girl told her daddy, right, you can't trust white people, do you know that that's a real thought? And it's not this is a thing. You cannot ask black people to trust a group of people, right? And not saying that it's everybody, but there's quite a few, right? You cannot ask us to trust a certain race at a time of need when that race has shown us time and time and time and time again. And in my case, I'm talking about historically. I'm not talking about individually, right? But historically, time and time again, you see that black people have been let down over and over and over and over again. Now, do we play a part in some of this that we see? Yes, of course. But I will say this, the system, right, or what they say, right, the system, quote unquote, is not created like for black people. It is honest. I mean, honest to God truth. That's what I'm gonna tell you that now. The system is not really made for black people. It makes exceptions for black people, but it is not made for black people. Those are two different things. And I say this, being able to articulate myself and carry myself in a manner that allows me to put myself in different spaces the average black person cannot go. So my question to white people would be, if this is a racist movie, what, like, the argument is, oh well, she says she can't trust white people. Like, that's cool. And how many people say that? Like low key, Wakanda was a very similar message. Did y'all not know that? The blacks and the Mexicans was teaming up. I'm telling you, if they do a Wakanda 3, I promise you, y'all gonna see. I don't know. It would be nice to see. I'm just gonna say it. I don't mean to say it. I don't know tell y'all. But it would be really nice to see like color people of all races link up together for a common good. Okay. I would like to see it with all people, but I really feel as though if you're not understanding why Julia Roberts' character was such a bad, like, that was a bad character. That character got under my skin so freaking bad. And I like Julia Roberts. I hated her character with a passion. I think we live in a time where people don't like to take accountability. Keep saying that over and over again. Um, we don't like to be held accountable for our actions and the things that we do. And so the moment that we are, and I will be honest, I don't think anybody was holding anybody accountable. I just think they were pointing it out. And the reason, hang on, y'all. I do not like talking with my mouth full. Mm. The reason this movie got to a lot of white people, right? And the conversation about racism is such a big topic when really the movie is more about conspiracy theories than anything. And it really, I'm gonna be honest, the only racism I felt was with Julia Roberts' character. I didn't feel no other racism. Well, outside of the guy at the very end, but I was so caught up in the movie that I was so caught up at the very end because I didn't know what was going to happen. But I could say that that was a level of racism, and or it could have been, again, my thought process was it could have been a man that just really didn't want to share what he had worked so hard to store because it was the end of the world, right? Because I feel like you will have people like that. Like, this is my shit. I earned this. I worked for this. So, no, right? But again, putting myself in that man's shoes, would I turn on my neighbor or somebody that I've known for a very long time and or worked for? I don't know, right? I really don't know. It would depend on, how well I knew that person. And apparently the black man felt like they knew each other well enough to where he could grab some medicine from him, right? So I don't know that I felt that that was racist necessarily, but I found it pretty odd. And obviously, when you look at the movie in its entirety, it could very well be depicted as being racist, right? Because he was not able to reason with the black man, but he was able to reason with the white man. The white man did nothing different that the black man did, right? It wasn't like the black man came up to him, was a thug, sagging, being rude, disrespectful, nothing. The white man jumps in the middle, and now all of a sudden he's willing to work out a deal. That's crazy to me. So it really touches on, and let me be honest, when I go back to prophecy, because I always am going to bring it back full circle, right? Prophecy, when I talk about prophecy, I almost wonder if this, what we're seeing take place, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, is a means to humble a group of people. Because you can only be wrong for so long before the world, the nations are going to begin to hold you accountable. And historically, No matter how white people justify what they do, the reputation of white people across the world, yeah, it may be good for those who understand, like if you're in business or whatever, but amongst colored people who tend to be the majority, amongst people of color, white people are a problem. That's the mentality. And they have the right to think that way because of the problems that, listen, I just got done dealing with shit where I could easily see why black people think the way they do. Trust me. But it takes a balanced mind. Like, you got to understand, and this is the thing. This movie was well balanced in the sense that the main characters were black and white. And we're dealing with the last days of time. You mean to tell me that phenotype, the phenotype of the character that Julia Roberts plays is not someone that exists today? You mean to tell me there aren't many people with her phenotype in that movie that exists right now today? And the outrage, it's almost like, how do y'all know to be outraged if you didn't know that her behavior was wrong? You're so focused on the idea that, oh, this movie's so much about racism instead of watching it and taking heed. Like, low key, y'all can pick up anything else in a movie except the behaviors that y'all show on a clear basis damn near every day to black people. Every single day. And Julia Roberts played the character so well, it tells me she knows a few of those women too. Bet you not. She played that character well. It tells me that either she know quite a few people who are the phenotype of her character. She played it off somebody, unless it's her. She played that character very well. Oh, it's arguments like this that really make me think black and white people may never come together. 'Cause we've been trying to do this for God knows how long, and it ain't been working. This movie is not a racist movie. No, it's not. I feel as though if that's the only reason why you're watching a film with everything that took place, that's all you can see is race. I don't know. I saw a lot of conspiracies coming true in that movie. It was kind of scary, actually. The Teslas scared me the most. Oh, and the dude's teeth falling out. That shit was crazy. So I only say this, you guys, because I feel like, we like to do things and then act like we didn't do nothing. Like, it's what is it? Throw a rock and hide our hands. We throw a rock at something and we hide our hand. Like we didn't do nothing wrong. White people, you guys have a history. And no offense, fuck the history. We could cut the history out and deal with what we see every day. And I'm telling you now, the little microaggressions that Julia Roberts was talking about is very much a thing amongst white people and black people. And I don't feel that it's racist to point it out. They didn't get stuck on that in the movie. They didn't harp on it, but they showed you clips of it. And honestly, that's probably how that really would have went in real life. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. So Obama's black, but he's not allowed to state his or express aspects of his experience as a black man. That's crazy. That's crazy. Just as whoever created whatever they created, what was it, Greece? They was able to depict their experience in Greece. Was that not an experience? And to y'all, that may be a movie, but so is this. There's no excuse. They had every right to depict that movie the way that they wanted to depict it because they paid for it. That's how I see it. And it's not propaganda. This is where white people be killing me with this, man. The only people that have been really propagandized in terms of how people behave is white people. The rest of us have experience. It's not just what we see on TV. So this idea that these movies be, oh, they're just propaganda and they're, there to manipulate blacks and, into thinking that white people and racism, and no. Black people are not dumb. We have these conversations behind closed doors. We always knew who white people were. Let me be very honest. Again, it's not every white person, but it's a lot of y'all. Okay. So it didn't take a movie for us to figure it out. Like, it didn't take a movie for us to understand what racism is when we see it. The movie only affirms what we already know to be true. That's what y'all That's what y'all be failing to understand. This ain't propaganda. This is not convincing black people that, oh, white people are racist. Oh, it's teaching black people to hate white people. No. Black people have always had a level of disdain for certain types of white people. Of course. That ain't nothing new. Just because y'all didn't know about it, y'all just getting hip to it, don't mean we didn't have those feelings. So this is not, in my opinion, all it does is affirm what we know to be true. And I like it. I like movies like this because it shakes up the atmosphere. It's supposed to. It's not supposed to always be Grease all the time. Right? It ain't supposed to be like, and I understand why people will say, well, we don't want to pay for the movie because it's not a good movie. Well, don't fucking watch it. The fuck? There's enough black people that are gonna watch it to make the movie go. There's enough people around the world that'll watch it to make the movie pop. It's Obama. The hell? Like, white people are really tripping over this movie, and it's not that deep, y'all. It really ain't. This ain't about racism as much as it is about you looking at yourself on screen and you can't stand it because you are no longer depicted as this prince and this king and this queen. No, people are starting to make movies to show who you really are and based upon their everyday real life experiences. We're not here to cause a ruckus. I mean, the idea is not, oh, well, we're just going to brainwash a bunch of blacks into thinking whites are just bad people. No, I think a lot of black people really already think that. I'm almost certain that a lot of black people have a level of disdain. And I don't want to say it like that, but it is. And a level of distrust for white people. That's a fact. I mean, no offense. It is what it is. And you can't get mad at the fact that that's what it is unless you're genuinely willing to change it. And if you're not willing to change the things that have been done, then you cannot and atone for the things of that's the biggest word because I think that's what it really is atoning for what we've done, right? Our ancestors have done. Just because it was your grandfather does not mean that you're not going to reap them the karma from that and what was done. Just like me, because you got them family curses, right? That's what people are not understanding. You do that, karma doesn't just leave because a person is dead. And instead of atoning for the actions, we're still carrying them out today. And black people are no longer the same types of blacks that they once were. Now, do we got our issues? Yes. But it's very difficult to control a group of blacks today than it ever was. So and when I mean control, I mean physically, right? Because black people are already mentally, but physically, right? That's where the downfall is. That's where the issue lies, right? So we've got to get to a point and understand that blacks are becoming more educated, right, across the globe, right? Blacks are becoming more aware of certain situations and how certain people move, and black people in power are going to start utilizing their power more and more and more, because we live in the age of the Aquarius is nothing but. So I don't know why people are so shocked by this, but the truth is always going to come out. This is the type of times we're in. So if you don't like the image that you saw of Julia Roberts on the screen, the thing is not to scream racism, because that's a bunch of baloney. It ain't racist. That movie's not racist. That's a bunch of nonsense. And I don't know why white people keep screaming this anti-white racist nonsense. It doesn't exist, right? It does not exist, because for one issue that you may have, oh, this black person is racist towards me, for one incident, right? That black person can turn around and tell millions of stories about what happened to them by the hands of a white person. Totally different scenarios. And I'm so sick of white people claiming, oh, it's racism, it's racism. No, motherfucker, this shit ain't racism. You just don't like seeing yourself in your true nature, not in your fantasy land, on screen. That's all it is. And if you don't like watching this and you don't like that shit being depicted, then why the fuck are you acting like that in real life? Why is it that as a black woman, I gotta always make you feel better and comfortable around me instead of just allowing me to be me? I've already said it. I could never work for nobody else. I could not. Because I'm not here to make you feel comfortable. That is too exhausting. And a lot of white people, as you guys know, if you guys have been following me on my other channels, right? You guys know damn well I don't subscribe and adhere to that bullshit. I don't care what kind of law says I'm a black person. Motherfucker, I still do what the fuck I want to. And I wish a motherfucker would try to convince me that I should be doing otherwise. And when it offends white people, so the fuck what? They just gonna have to feel offended. For real. So I'm gonna be honest. If it was me who knocked on that damn door and I had Julia Roberts talking to me the way she did, knowing that I pulled up to my shit, bitch, you and your family would have been outside figuring it out. I don't know what to tell you. That is how I would have took it. I don't give a damn about them kids, bitch. Oh, you think this ain't my house? I'm finna show you this is my house today. That's how I would have moved, because I don't got the patience for that shit. You ain't finna disrespect me. And I know his mind was, I want to do the right thing, but you got one time to disrespect me in my shit. That's my mentality. So again, I don't know what I would have done, because in my opinion, when you're in those situations, your skin color should never fucking matter. Somebody needs help, they need help. However, I know what kind of reality we really live in. Right? So I'm not going to move in a manner that is naive. Thus, the little girl telling her daddy, don't be too nice. You cannot trust these people. She was looking out for her daddy, as she should. She had no business. Her job was not to look out for Julia Roberts and her family. The fuck? She wondering, who the fuck are y'all? She wondering the same thoughts that Julia Roberts is wondering. But the only difference is the little girl had more of the right to wonder that, because that's her house. Who are you? So respectfully, y'all, I don't get with the racism card on this one. I'm sorry. I believe that this is, white people being shown who they are, and they're extremely upset that this is the perspective in which the former president, regardless of how much we like them or don't like them, said that these people are. Right? So this is what the president is saying and the first lady is saying, right? This is who they are. This is what's coming up. This is what's going to happen. And about racism, it's about I don't want to be shown in this image because I know deep down this wasn't a good look. That's all that was. White people know damn well that shit was wrong. Julia Roberts was all the way fucked up. Sorry. That I'm telling you now, between her and the little girl, the 21-year-old, and then the little girl on the goddamn bike she used to drive. I'm telling you, all the women in this movie drove me nuts. The black girl, because she was so militant in her thought process. That's why I think she threw me off. I didn't really like that. Not saying that I don't agree. It just was so repetitive. I was getting annoyed with the repetition of the conversation. Same thing with Julia Roberts, y'all. I was so happy when they finally put her character at a place where she could be okay. Because I was getting real sick of Julia Roberts, okay? And I'm gonna be real, it took way too long for them to really correct her attitude and shit with the little girl. That shit was not cute because bitch, you 10 times older than her. The fuck? You acting like that for? And of course, the black girl is young. She's gonna get an attitude and be smart because that's what they do. She's young. You're supposed to be the example. White, black, Spanish, Latino, purple, blue, it wouldn't matter. You are 60. That lady look, I mean, she might not have been 60. That lady look old to me. So I'm just saying it was a weird look for Julia. But there's a lot of women who act like her. I don't think the dad was racist. I don't think the dad cared, and I'm gonna be honest, I think that's the depiction of a lot of men. I think they just go with the wife because it's their wife, not because the men always. And I appreciate the men who are able to hold their wives accountable and have a dialogue with the men, right? Or excuse me, with their wives and have a difference of opinion with their wives and hold and stand that opinion. So I respect the dad on that one. But I don't know, man. Julia Roberts' character was out of place. It was weird. And now that I know the Obamas made that movie, my question is still why, but I understand why race was it wasn't a big deal, but you felt it. You definitely knew that. And no offense, race did not come from the racism in the movie, if you want to put it that way, didn't stem from the black people. That's not where it started. You want to talk about the black girl saying, "Oh, well, we can't trust white people." What about all the shit Julia Roberts did? Is that okay? Is that was Julia Roberts just, what was that? What the fuck was that? That's all I got to say, y'all. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. But I'm letting you know now, I'm not buying the shit. As much as I don't like Obama, you're not convincing me that this movie was racist over conspiracies. Like, that's what the movie was about. That's where my mind went. It briefly touched on race, but if it's in today's society and we're looking at the end of days and we're looking at the relationships between whites and blacks now today, irregardless of these little interracial stuff going on right now amongst people, if you look at how black people are being treated across the globe, it's kind of really spot on. And the little girl was right to say what she said. She had every right to believe that. And if you think that there aren't black people who have already felt that way, and Obama and them are just touching on what they know, if they're really black, because nobody knows what they do in their household for real. But if they're really black, you can bet your bottom dollar somebody's had that conversation at least once or twice behind closed doors. You would never know that up front. But that's because of the history and the relations. And no matter how white people justify what happened, why it happened, it doesn't negate and change how black people feel. It will never do that. So the reality of it is white people can start to try to listen, which they're not going to do, which is this movie, Civil War or whatever that they about to hit out. Or we can work this out. Why people can become a little bit more reasonable in their thought processes. But until then, it ain't never gonna change, man. It ain't never going to change. And black people and people of color all around the world are going to feel more justified and feel more boldened to speak up and speak out. So you're going to start to see more projects like this all across the globe. You're going to see white people being put in the hot seat because we live in the age of Aquarius. The truth is always going to come to the light. That's where we're at with things. So do I give my kudos out to Obama? I mean, again, I don't know what the purpose of this movie was. I'm still trying to figure out why he created this movie. What was the reason? I don't believe that the agenda and the message was racism. I'm sorry. You guys are not buying me on that. I just can't. I can't be sold on that one. I do believe it was a bigger message than racism. I believe that there was a much bigger message than racism. So let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. Have you seen the movie? Have you not seen the movie? What are your thoughts about the movie? Let me know. With that being said, y'all, I'm out. Peace.